serve him all the time and his people, the deities, the devotees like that. I'm so happy to see Mother Krsna Nandini online now. My obeisances to you, Mataji.
Hare
Blessings and
Krishna.
humble obeisances. All glories to you. All glories to Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada. You're such a beacon of hope in this world. We're so very happy to have you amongst us. And of course, you have such a strong connection with Dallas. And
Yeah.
so because we're here, we just thought that at this time we'll ask devotees who are connected to Dallas to speak. And we really thank you so very much to joining us on this call and speaking with us. And after you, Giraj Maharaj is also coming on at about 11:15 to speak. So I want to make sure you have your clear 45 minutes to speak.
Okay.
You don't take all 45 minutes, your choice, however long you want to speak.
All right.
I may ask you questions, so you might have more time that way as well.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Nityananda Prabhu. It's so wonderful to see you again. I hope you and your lovely wife are doing well. I always have very good memories of you being in our home the very first time we met. I think that cemented our heart connection. And so I'm very grateful to be a part of the Radha Kalachandji crew, congregation forever, wherever I am. I'll always be a part of Radha Kalachandji congregation. So, yeah, I wanted to offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, to all the devotees. So, Vanchakalpa Cherubias Cha, Kapasandubhya Eva Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Om Anjana Timirandasya Jan Janashalakasya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Suyam Rupakadama Yam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bando, Jagat Pate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namaste. Tapta Kanchana Garangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you wonderful devotees, all glories to Radha Kalachandji, Kalachandji on the occasion of his appearance. Always love Janmastami. Of course, my favorite of all time Krishna conscious uh, holiday is Radhastami, and then Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, but Janmastami is right up there as well. This is the day we invite the Lord to reappear in our hearts again, and it's such a good opportunity that we get to do that over and over again on a daily basis, but also in a concentrated way on Janmastami. So I was wondering, I said, okay, Krishna, what am I going to share? Whenever I try to prepare something these last few days, Krishna always has another plan. So we're just going to sort of take it from the heart. I have to share with you a little bit. As you know, I'm in hospice care with this whole cancer thing, and each day is a different day. Sometimes I'm in pain, sometimes not, but it's always an interesting time to really connect and thank the Lord. So yesterday I wasn't able to sleep so well. And I just got up at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just chanted, which was really good because what's the best medicine, right? I took my other medicine, but that didn't help. And then when I chanted, I was able to get a few more hours of rest. And I was so grateful. I got up and was able to shower and have Tulsi Puja and offer my deity some water and Tulsi leaves so that my day began perfectly. So now I get to have a Sangha with you wonderful devotees in Dallas. And, you know, to connect, most of you all know that Dallas is really the birthplace for my formal initiation. And I was thinking about how, you know, we're talking about Krishna appearing in our lives, and we know that when Krishna came over 5,000 years ago, he came in a very uncertain time, just like we live in now. You think about it, you know, he was born, he appeared in a prison. His devotees were in prison, and often many of us devotees feel imprisoned today. And there were a lot of unscrupulous things going on in the world with Kamsa and his demonic forces killing devotees, killing babies. And there was just this, it was not a pleasant time really for devotees. And the Shastras, the Bhagavatam say devotees were actually some of them were hiding out from Kansa. And, all of that's going on right now. So in Krishna's fantastic special way, he's given us this opportunity to open our hearts today and invite him to come in the midst of all these crazy challenges, knowing that, how we connect with Krishna is the eternal reality, and this illusory thing is transitory. So when I was about 17 years old, you all heard the story, so I'm not going to go through a lot, but I'm going to connect the dots here a bit. I went to the University of Chicago on a scholarship, and I had been there about a year, and I met my first husband. And my mother gave me a Bhagavad Gita, and when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I just somehow, by Krishna's grace, Prabhupada's grace, it connected that here was the God that my mother had been teaching us about all our lives, and he was such a special person. It was so good to know. Prabhupada said, not only can we tell you God is great, but we can give you his address, we can tell you his associates, we can tell you what he does. And that was just so special to me, knowing the potential that the Bhagavad Gita gave. And of course, I didn't understand the depth of all the concepts, but it was enough to connect me once and for all with Prabhupada. And, for me to realize that Prabhupada is my guru, and how grateful we were to have it. And then, of course, at that time, there weren't so many devotees, and especially there weren't a lot of black body devotees. But, when you look back and you think about how Krishna connected all those dots and it let us end up in Dallas, and with Kalachandji being installed on the same day that we got initiated, then you realize there are no real coincidences, especially for those who are trying to serve the Lord. Krishna Prabhupada arranged that we come ragtag people that we were to Dallas, and that Prabhupada just happened to be coming there at the same time. And he just happened to be giving initiations, and we just happened to have Radha Kalachandji being installed. So it was a very favorable result to our being going through so many trials and tribulations, because there were a lot of trials and tribulations in the early days. And even once we were initiated, the trials and tribulations didn't stop, but we had more strength. We had more of Nityananda's mercy. We had more of Prabhupada's mercy to deal with the challenges. And as you all can see from the stories, that when Krishna appeared, the challenges for the devotees didn't stop. The Pandavas were still getting persecuted and crucified, and the devotees were still being tortured. So even though Krishna was personally present on the planet, these things were going on. But what was the difference is that the devotees always felt the shelter and care of Krishna. They always felt trusting. A devotee, mature devotee, is like a baby. They just trust that whatever my mother does, whatever my father does, they're going to take care of me. And that's actually the mood. In fact, in the biblical scriptures, it says, unless one comes as a child, in the mood of a child, you can't enter the kingdom of God. And that's true. So that childlike mood of just trusting Krishna, that whatever you do, however you do it, I'm going to accept that you have my best interests in mind. So coming to Dallas in 1972 with all of the different things that we worked on, it ended up being such a beautiful thing. And we got to spend some time with Srila Prabhupada and get to really, we had kind of connected with Prabhupada in our hearts first. So then to see him physically, or to see his Vabhu, was such like the icing on the cake. And he was all that and more. And so after that, we left Dallas and we went to Nashville, Tennessee for a while, because Prabhupada gave us permission to open a temple wherever we went, and also to, keep on keeping on. But Nashville didn't last. I gave birth to my second child there. And then we came back to Cleveland, and from Cleveland had so many, we opened a temple, the Radha Sundarlok Temple of ISKCON. And then we had a lot of devotees that came through and got initiated. And then the Radha Sundarlok, there was another Hare Krishna, the main Hare Krishna temple in Cleveland closed in the 1980s. And then we started doing Namahata programs and the Namahata came forth with the blessings of Bhakti Tirtha Swami and Chandramauli Swami and Malati Devi and all those good things. So I guess I want to share with you all today how the importance of keeping on in Krishna consciousness, no matter what your challenges are, once you've invited the Lord in your life to trust him. And I think about, the story of, in the Bhagavatam, the story of when the demon asked Lord Shiva for the benediction that whoever head he touched, his hand would shatter their head. And of course, the demon, being a very foolish person, didn't even think beyond the consequences. And because he was a demon, he wanted to try that benediction on Lord Shiva. And because Lord Shiva is the chief amongst the demigods and one of the greatest devotee of the Lord, he took shelter of Krishna because he had given this foolish man a benediction that would be ruinous to himself and others. And of course, the ending when the Lord tricked the demon into putting his own hand on his head and he shattered himself. But the Lord is always figuring out how to protect and save his devotees like that. But the reason why I shared that story is because within the Krishna book, when Prabhupada tells that story, he talks about how when Krishna wants to favor us, and when Krishna wants to favor us, he starts taking everything away, all the things that are precious, all the things that we thought were important, money, family, health. Krishna can take away your health, For me, I never thought, I always had what I call wash and wear body. I always thought, okay, I get up, I can chant, I can do this, I can do, I was didn't have much physical problems. And then all of a sudden it gets smashed with the cancer thing and then be restricted and conflicted and all those good things. So Krishna takes away, and then he takes away the very source of our comfort. He takes away the fallible soldiers that we're depending on, so many things. But that taking away actually is a giving. When Krishna is taking away, he's giving. He's giving us more faith. He's giving us more trust. He's giving us more love. He's giving us more hope. He's giving us the reality that there is no one to depend on but Krishna. There is no outside thing other than Krishna that protects us and loves us and cares for us. And through the process, what Prabhupada calls the tried devotee, we learn that. Sometimes a lesson is a hard lesson to learn, but it's a good one. And then when we share that lesson with others, we can speak from a realization, we can speak from experience, we can speak from hope. And the idea is that we all must trust and obey. This is a key in Krishna consciousness. We trust Krishna that he's taking care of us, that he is God, that he is our Siridham Sarvabhutanam. He's our best well-wishing friend, no matter what the circumstances. So if he appears to chastise us or if he appears to love us, it's all the same. And once we have that mood in developing our relationship with Krishna, because this whole idea of the Lord taking birth in our lives is to reawaken our long-lost relationship with God. That God that is eternal and blissful and full of knowledge, that God that has never left us in all the different bodies that we've traversed through, all the 8,400,000. I mean, it's mind-boggling to just think about that here we sit today in a human form, but at one point, this same soul that's appearing as a female black body devotee was in the body of an insect, and then an elephant, and then a plant, and then so forth like that. And every single time that I went somewhere, Krishna, Paramatma, Antayami, he came with me. He never left me alone. And that is such a good thing. Sometimes people say, well, why don't I remember? Well, Krishna has given us a lot of mercy not to remember all that crazy stuff we had to go through to get to where we are. We would totally be schizophrenic if we remembered even probably our past life. So Krishna is helping us. And once in a while, he'll give us a glimpse of our past and what it was and who we connected with and that kind of thing. But the idea here is how we're developing this relationship. So we're asking Krishna to come into our hearts, to reappear in our hearts in the same way that Devaki and Vasudev did. They were very humble devotees, and they begged the Lord to appear in their lives. And they did the necessary austerities that would make this happen, the atmosphere. So Krishna made it very easy that just by chanting his holy name, just by associating with devotees, just by offering and accepting prasadam, just by studying the Shastra, we can actually, factually, reignite our relationship with the Lord. And there is no taste as sublime as when the relationship with Krishna is reignited. There's no taste. Prabhupada gives an example because, we often say there's no pleasure in the material world. Well, some people may say there is pleasure in the material world. I felt pleasure, but then the acharyas tell us that pleasure is like a drop of water to a dying, thirsty man, That yes, maybe sex may be like that drop of water, but if you taste the love of Krishna, the bliss of your relationship, reconnecting with Krishna, you'll feel like I have to spit on that. And a lot of times that seems so far out because we're not if we haven't had that experience, if we haven't had that taste, then it sounds like something crazy. So Prabhupada actually has done such a miracle by bringing us Krishna, by giving us Krishna. He said that the Guru gives you Krishna and Krishna gives you Guru. And how we appreciate that is just getting up every day, doing our spiritual sadhana, doing our duty, begging, crying out to the Lord that he would somehow or other, Srimati Radharani, allow us to be re-engaged in their eternal service, because that's our actual nature. That's what we're all actually hankering for. So in this time of pandemic and crisis and this and that, we can take shelter knowing that God is still here. He's never left. He's still in control. That none of this could be happening unless it was ordained by Krishna. And that what is our role that Krishna is trying to ask us to participate in. And each devotee should ask that question. What is Krishna asking of me during this time? What does Kalachandji want from me? And, part of it, I caught a little glimpse of what our sweet Nityananda was saying, is just go on serving Krishna, serving each other, being kind to one another. Prabhupada knew, I wrote an article for Back to Godhead that hasn't been published yet, but hopefully, and it's called Battlefield Commissions. And it talks about how that on a battle in an army, let's say there's been some extreme devastation and one particular army has lost many of the leaders. So then one of the remaining leaders or the top remaining leader may do what is called battlefield commission. He'll say, okay, you be a lieutenant and you be a sergeant and you be a captain, knowing that these are privates and they're not ready, they're not equipped, they're not qualified, they're not trained, but because of the emergency of the situation, it has to be done. So they're drafted. So in a similar way, Prabhupada drafted us. We were not qualified, we were not ready, we were not trained. And he knew that there would be some casualties and fallout on the way. But the thing that helped Prabhupada and that helps us is he had so much faith in the holy name. He had so much faith in the process. He had so much faith in Lord Chaitanya's reality that if any of us would take up this message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sincerely and just trust and obey, that somehow or other Krishna would allow us to be instruments of his mercy, and that mercy would touch so many other lives. So opening our hearts to Krishna is very important, and we should do it on a daily basis. We should invite, say, Lord, I want you to come in my heart and let me be aware of your presence and let me bring you joy. Let me bring you happiness and let me, surrender to your divine will. And when we take that kind of mood of total surrender to the divine will of Kalachandji or Krishna, then we can become one with God. Some people get very confused about this thing, one with God. Is it your God? Like Christians say, Lord Jesus Christ is God. No, he's one with God because he aligned himself fully with the purpose and mood and mission of Krishna. And so it's no difference. Same with Prabhupada, one with God, aligned himself fully with the mood and mission, the Gauravani, if you will, of Lord Chaitanya. And he then can be said to be one with God. He can be said to be the representative of God. And Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya wanted all of us to be that kind of representative. We may have different scales or different influences that we affect or reach, but he wanted all of us to take up the battlefield commission and be a spiritual warrior and serve. And we do that by chanting Hare Krishna every day faithfully and begging Srimati Radharani to let us enter into her charmed kingdom of service. And we do that by being kind to devotees and serving others. And we do that by studying the scriptures. We do that by having Sangha and fellowship. So all these things that we do will gradually purify us. And we want to take inventory and say, each Janmastami, we should analyze ourselves and say, how have I grown from 2019 to 2020? How have I made progress? In what way do I see my heart connecting more with Krishna? In what way do I see more of an appreciation for Guru, Sadhu, Shastra? And so taking time to analyze and see how I'm going. I have this little book that I wrote called The ABCs of Chanting the Holy Names of God. And I wanted to just go through some of these names today because, we say that God's name is non-different from himself and that God put everything in the name. So God, Krishna's name is Krishna and Krishna is Krishna's name. And so just talking about these names, just relishing the names as is a very empowering kind of thing. So I took some of the names and went through them, and I just want to review a little with you all today. So Achyuta, the infallible Lord who never falls down or fails. So today we're asking Achyuta to appear in our hearts. And in one sense, we understand that Achyuta means you never fall down. You're always God, whether you're a baby on your mother, your shoulder's lap, or whether you're driving Arjuna's chariot, or whether you're a super soul in the heart of a bug, you're always God. Krishna's always God. That's an unchanging reality and effect. And another aspect of Krishna being Achyuta is that he never fails his devotees. Now somebody could say, well, Mother Krsna Nandini, it looks like he failed you because here you are in this extreme cancer, you're likely to die in any moment and this and that. But no, what is the success for a devotee? The success for a devotee is to always be conscious of Krishna and to know, I got to leave the body anyway. I mean, however Krishna chose it, I would prefer it not be cancer. I would prefer it not be painful. But once that's done, the reality is once you're born, you have to leave your body. So that's true. And as long as Krishna is allowing me to have your wonderful association, to remember Radha Kalachandji, to chant the holy name, then this is success. So Achyuta. And then another name is Adhokshaja. The Lord is beyond the range of material sense perception. So we think about Krishna. And it's funny to me, sometimes I hear people saying, God can't do this, and he can't do this. I'm like, what kind of God are we talking about? We're talking about unlimited almighty God that does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, however he wants. And that's it. And we don't even have an inkling of understanding that concept because he's the Lord of all the universes. We barely have a sense of this earth, what to speak of other universes. And then the universes in the material world are only 1/4 of the creation of God. So God is just so huge and so unlimited and so mind-boggling. There's no way that we can possibly understand. But if we love him, Premanjana Chariti Bhakti Vilochanena, and we have those eyes that are purified by love, then Krishna will reveal himself to us. He'll tell us about himself. He'll make us acquainted. And that's what we want. Ajita, unconquerable. Okay, so who can conquer Krishna? Nobody can. That's why we can't even conquer Maya. Krishna say, this is my Maya. Don't play with that. Don't think you can overcome Maya without Krishna, because you cannot.
right.
Then we have Ananda, eternal, ever-expanding bliss. So Krishna is Ananda. It's a hard concept for us to think of being in a constant state of joy. But just imagine a constant state of joy where there is no anxiety, no pain, no fear, no greed, no lust, no hatred, just happiness. And that's the state of Krishna, Atmaram, and all Krishna's pure devotees are like that. So this Ananda is something that we all hanker for. Ananda Maya Vyasa. By nature, we're joyful. So we want that joy because that is our real essence. And then Ananta, unlimited. We just spoke about that. I mean, how many ways is the Lord unlimited? Unlimited names, unlimited devotees, unlimited activities, unlimited qualities, so much unlimited. Everything about God, just no end to it and no beginning. So beautiful names. And then we have Balaram, which is the spiritual strength of God. And then we have Bhakta Vatsaya. Now, many of our acharyas say of all of Krishna's qualities, this one is the sweetest. This one where Krishna just loves his devotees and he's just going to take care of them and he's just going to protect them. It's just, what can you do? You can never separate Krishna from the love of his devotees. And we see that over and over, even if devotees make mistakes, even if devotees, Krishna just loves his devotees. And now the underlying thing under all that is that every living entity is a devotee. So even though we see the love that Krishna has for those who are favorable, Krishna has love for all of his devotees and those that are not so favorable or those that are ignorant, because Krishna knows what they need and what they want to, what it takes for happiness. So over and over again, he'll send his devotees to come whenever and wherever there's a decline in righteous principles, a predominant rise of irreligion. At that time I come, and of course, 3 reasons are given. It comes to reestablish religion. And boy, don't we need religion reestablished during this time. Comes to protect the devotees. That's the main reason, because it's Prabhupada and the other acharyas say Krishna doesn't have to come to reestablish religion or to kill the demons. He can take an earthquake or a tornado or a plane crash or whatever Krishna's unique, novel way. But Krishna really comes to protect his devotees. And on this Janmastami, I think we should relish that and ask and cry out for Krishna's protection. Bhakta Vasaya, very, very sweet name of Krishna. And the next one is Bhuta Brit, one who gives protection to all living beings, which Krishna protects the ants and the spiders and one day my husband and I were sitting on the porch just looking at these little spiders and how they were doing their little web and how Krishna had given them intelligence where to do it and what to do, because Krishna is protecting all living entities. And that's how you know when a devotee or a person is becoming spiritually mature. They similarly want to protect other living entities. That's how you know. They will not unnecessarily hurt a tree or an insect. And they'll be so careful about that. So that's a quality. And then we have Chaitanya, the living force. And Chaitanya being the living force is a very, very sweet presentation of the Lord. When he comes as Chaitanya, because he comes as Radha, the internal potency, the love nature of God, the compassion of God. And Lord Chaitanya is covered with that. And that is the living force. That is the force of love. So sometimes we hear, may the force be with you. That's the Chaitanya that we're talking about. And then Damodar, the Lord allows himself to be bound by the love and affection of his devotees. And if we go deeper into our appreciation for God, this thing about love between the Lord and his devotee is just like a boundless ocean that has no bottom. It just keeps getting sweeter and deeper and sweeter and deeper and sweeter and deeper. And so Krishna really, really, and he makes it simple for us to really love him. Pacham pushpam palamtanam, a leaf, a flower. Like today, I was lamenting because I couldn't do an elaborate offering for the Lord, but I remember he said, just a little water, Krsna Nandini, just a little tulsi leaf, And so I was able to go in there and offer him that little water and that little Tulsi leaf, and I pray that he accepts it. And then another name for Krishna is Dinabandhu, the friend of the poor. And how many of us are poor? We are all poor in one way or the other. Maybe we have sufficient money, but we may be poor in health. Maybe we have sufficient health, but we may be poor in friendship. Maybe we have sufficient friendship, but we may be poor in knowledge. So we're all poor in Kali Yuga. And Krishna is our friend, Dinabandhu. And he wants to reciprocate it with us as a friend, as this friendship, that story of the little boy who was very poor and he needed to give a gift to his guru. And his mother felt bad because she didn't have anything for him to give him, and this is part of the Vaishnava etiquette, the cultural etiquette. And so she said, "My dear son, I'm so sorry. I don't have anything to give to your guru." And he just cried. And finally she said, "Well, you can ask the Lord. He is Dinabandhu." And he said, "Well, where will I find the Lord, Mata?" And she said, "I've heard you can find the Lord in the forest." So the little boy went in the forest, and every day he said, "Dinabandhu, Dinabandhu, Dinabandhu, brother, Dinabandhu. I need a gift for my guru." And the Lord heard him. And the Lord manifested a pot of yogurt that would never, ever run out. And so he was able to bring his guru this best of gifts. Now, initially, the guru said, "What is this little mess?" It was just a little pot, and he kind of knocked it down. But then he saw the pot, the yogurt kept coming in. It's healthy, sweet, good yogurt. And he realized that this was not an ordinary gift. And he embraced his disciple. And so Dinabandhu had come to the rescue. And then there's another one, Dinavatsala, one who's very compassionate to the poor. So Krishna is a friend of the poor. He's compassionate to the poor. And as I said, all of us are poor in some way or another. So we should call on Dinavatsala to give us the compassion. And then Giridhari, he who lifted Govardhan hill. And we think about Giridhari, there's so much in that pastime. It's such a sweet pastime. For 7 days and 7 nights, the Lord protected his devotees. They didn't feel hungry. They didn't feel thirsty. They didn't have to use the bathroom. They didn't feel sleepy. All they felt was intense, pure happiness in reciprocation with loving Krishna. Everybody got their full desire. Here's the one I love. I get to look at him 100%. There are no worries. And so Giridhari represents so much. And what Krishna does for any devotee, he'll do it for any other devotee if that's the level of our desire. Everything is based on desire. So Krishna will do that. Then Gopinath, he's the master of the gopis. And then Govinda. Gopinath is just such a huge category in itself. Because of all the servants of the Lord, the gopis are said to be the greatest lovers of the Lord. And their unique relationship with the Lord has no earthly equivalent, no material comparison. The gopis just have totally given their lives to Krishna, to love personified. And Krishna totally gives his life to the gopis. So he's a master of the gopis, and there's unlimited gopis in different categories who serve all under our beautiful Srimati Radharani. And then there's Hari, the Lord who takes away all inauspicious qualities and imbues the devotees with all good qualities. That's one of my favorite names of Krishna, Hari, Hari. I have a son named Hari, and we're always saying Hari, 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 Hari. So hopefully that's helping us to become more and more purified just by calling that name. Then Hrishikesh, the master of the senses. We have these senses, and they get us in a lot of trouble. And we have to call on the master of senses, Hrishikesh, to get us out of trouble. And starting from our own mind, he says in Bhagavad Gita, of the senses, I am the mind. So we can beg the Lord to help us get out of the trouble that we get into. Ishvara, the controller. And I like how Prabhupada, in the beginning of Bhagavatam, he really clarifies that the idea of God and Bhagavan are really different, because Ishvara is just one aspect of Krishna, as the controller, but Krishna is the absolute truth or the source of everything. So he's Brahman, Bhagavan, and Paramatma. This is a whole fullness of the character of the nature and stature of God. And then Jagannath, the master of the universe, Janardana, the Lord of all the worlds, Kalachandji. Kalachandji Radha, Kalachandji Radha, Kalachandji Radha. The Kalachandji is the beautiful black moon. And sometimes people say, well, how can a moon be black and be beautiful? But we see it now with Kalachandji. And Kalachandji has such a sweet, sweet aura about himself. That round face, that big, juicy round face. It's just not like him. And I love the history of Kalachandji. We have no idea. We know he's at least 500 years old. And we know that there was a little mystery surrounding, know that how Krishna meant for him to be in Dallas under you all's good care. And he ended up exactly where he was.
You check the soil first. I don't, because there's no sun. There's no sun. If the
One of them needs to be muted. I think I'm not the host.
Hare Krishna. Can you all still hear me?
I can hear you. We can all hear you.
Oh, okay.
One of our listeners is speaking while you're speaking.
Oh, I see. Okay. So maybe I could stop here, Nityananda. If there's any questions or comments, we can have some interaction or feedback.
Yes. Anybody want to ask any questions before I ask some questions? No? Okay. So I have a question, Mother Krsna Nandini.
Yes.
When you actually were here at the time of the installation of the deities,
yes,
did you know that Radharani had been switched, and was there any talk about it at that time about the deities? Anything specific to the deities that you heard while you were here?
You know what, Nityananda, the main thing I heard while I was there, I didn't know about the switch, but I did know that that the deities had come from India very recently and that they were very old, that Kalachandji was very old. We did hear that. And one of the devotees had painted over Kalachandji. Completely painted. And Prabhupada was very, very upset with that. In fact, he said he wouldn't even do initiations or installation because of that. And the devotee stayed up all night chipping the paint. One of the authorities had actually told her to do that, by the way. But she tipped the paint off. And then Prabhupada was pleased and he went on with the installation. But I didn't know about the switch until years later. Yeah. I think when I came back and Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there, was the first time I think I'd heard about that, when I came for the 25th reunion. And Maharaj, they were going over the history of Radha Kalachandji. I think that was the first time I heard about Srimati Radharani and the Detroit and the switch.
Yeah, nice. So moving on to the current situation,
Yes.
We've been trying for the longest time to see how people who are already taking shelter of you and others who want to take shelter of you as the person to guide them in their lives, in their Krishna consciousness, can do that. How is that moving along? Is that for you? How is it going for you?
Let me understand your question a little better. Nityananda, can you rephrase that?
Yeah. One part is say, for example, I'm sure there are devotees who are hoping to take shelter from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
When is it likely for them that they will be able to realize their desire,
Oh, okay. Now I get it. Okay, so we have two factors here. One is the whole idea, and it's kind of about women giving Diksha Guru.
Right.
And then the other is my own personal state of being,
right.
And what I've, a few people have approached me on that, to be honest, Nanda, and I've really prayed to Srila Prabhupada to guide it. And initially I said no, because that's a lot, and who wants that? But then I said, okay, if it was something that Prabhupada wanted and that I could be of service, then I would do it. So even today, that's my position. But now, who knows what's going to happen with the? I think the where ISKCON is now that they've tentatively approved women through, but it still hasn't happened yet. And my take on that, Nityananda, is if anybody finds someone who is bona fide disciple of a bona fide spiritual master who can guide them and inspire them, then pretty soon nobody's not going to be able to stop them from doing that, because you know where you get your energy, your inspiration, your hope from. And clearly Prabhupada, in my understanding and study, wanted all of his disciples to take up the service of Guru if they so felt inclined, and if they were in good, their sadhana was in line with what Prabhupada asked, because the need is so great. There's billions of human beings here who need the message of Lord Chaitanya.
Right.
So why not afford the opportunity? And in many ways, people take shelter anyway. They'll write, call, or follow your instructions. So I think it's really time has come, Nityananda, and I pray that we would do it sooner than later, because there's so many ways that people can invite others in if they if women are allowed to be guru.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Because the people who are asking, because there are so many people who like to see that, if someone that they can relate with, that they can, work with. Of course, in the meantime, you are a Siksha Guru. You are giving advice to people. You're encouraging them in their Krishna consciousness. And, obviously, for those of us who have met you, we know how sincere you are as a devotee. And I'm sure what challenges you're going through right now are somehow Prabhupada preparing you to join him again, because he wants you to feel like, okay, maybe I should really focus on that part also. What does he want me to do in terms of my next service? You did this service so well. So many people become impacted by you, very nicely in their Krishna consciousness. And it's obvious that, Prabhupada wants you for his service, because there are other worlds also where people are waiting. Somehow Prabhupada said that in this world, people don't cooperate as well. I think you've seen that in your life.
Yes.
How many challenges you had to go through, despite your good intentions, despite the fact that it was your right to reach out to people, help them in their Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
Whether it was bodily reasons or other reasons, whatever it was, the challenges are terrible at times,
And with the idea of, our basic fundamental philosophies that we're not the body, and how do we actually demonstrate that? It's so interesting that we throw these deep, lofty terms around, and then we say, then in this case, I am the body, but in this case, I'm not the body. So Lord Chaitanya has come to burst all that bubble, I think.
From Chicago, the visuals from New York City.
Mood and mission of Lord Chaitanya. He broke all the rules.
In Portland, Oregon, there is a visual that needs to be in every single Republican ad. And I love
someone has their, okay.
Yeah, radio on. And what's happening is, I think our hosts are sleeping right now. They're not listening to this program, and as a result, they don't know that this is going on.
Sorry, Mataji. Sorry, Prabhuji. We have made someone else a co-host, and we'll mute them. Sorry about that.
You mute everybody. Just mute everybody. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Haribol.
But I love how you all are serving so nicely in Radha Kalachandji Dham. I think it's a very, very special place. And of course, my son ended up.
Oops. It looks like they muted you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was saying Shaima Vallabha ended up living in Dallas with Radha Kalachandji. Another one of those kind of mysterious connections for our family that we wanted to have.
Yeah. We're so fortunate to have him here. He's such a beautiful devotee. Obviously, they say the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, but very wonderful devotee, very, very open-hearted, clean-hearted person, very honest person. And it's no wonder that when Giriraj Maharaj when he approached Giriraj Maharaj for initiation, of course, as the temple president, we speak about, potential initiations that happen in Dallas.
Yes, yes.
And what Maharaj expressed to me, I felt very, very happy to hear,
Mhm.
I knew that he would feel very good about him, but, right off the bat, Maharaj is generally not very forthcoming in terms of saying things about his own disciple
Yes.
that might be, in glowing terms. But in his
Yes.
case, he did. And I felt so good about it because he's such a nice boy. And he's helped us in so many ways. He's always very service-minded person. And even his family takes very good care of his family. When he comes with his daughter, we can see how much she loves him, and she's always hugging him and kissing him. And, it's like, you can see that she loves her father.
Yes, yes, and he's certainly determined to raise her for Krishna. I'm so happy, that a parent loves to hear the kind of things you're saying, because for us raising children, and you know this, because you've raised children, our main gift that we wanted to give our children was Krishna.
Right.
We wanted them to know how valuable it is. And so when they take it up, it just enriches our own hearts and makes us feel happy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I've now 4 grandkids myself. And so the youngest of them is about 2 years of age, So one day she was trying to lift her father's very heavy backpack. And I was saying, because he was carrying all her things in it, but there were some items that were heavy. And so she couldn't, hardly, she couldn't lift it. And I said, it's too heavy. Her name is Rangi. I said, Rangi, it's very heavy. And then I lifted her and I said, Rangi, you're very heavy too, And she said, yes, my father and mother take very good care of me.
Oh,
that's wow, from the mouth of a baby, you know what I mean? For a 2-year-old to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is amazing, And so I was just thinking the same thing about your son's daughter, how she was exuding that type of love, And so it gives me an idea that these are actually devotees who have come to the homes of our devotees.
Yes.
And they were probably demigods and demigoddesses in their previous lives. And they were praying to Krishna, please give us time on earth that we may prove our devotion and come back home to Golok Vrindavan. And these are the families in whom they come, and he is one of them,
That's right. And we often say, Lord Chaitanya predicted a 10,000-year golden age. Well, where it's not going to be magic, these are actually going to be living entities who take birth to goldenize, if you will, or Christianize the world. So I'm loving seeing these little babies being raised, and also the fact that they're raised in more loving homes now too. Like we have a better understanding of Vaishnava family love and affection than we did in our neophyte stage. And so I'm looking forward to a lot of these 3rd and 4th, 5th generation children just exploding with love of God and helping others to do that.
We thank you for all the difficulties you all faced in the first phases of Krishna consciousness, because the world was not going to accept something that was totally foreign to it. They're thinking like, who are these people that you see men in dhotis and think these are women, they're imitating women. And somebody's saying you're wearing bed sheets, can't you find proper clothes to wear? Why do you have to shave your head? Did someone leave their body? The family situations, all the challenges you went through. We don't see it so much that you were in a neophyte phase, but the challenges you faced at that time, obviously it distracted you a little from the family situation, but it wasn't a distraction. It was, you had to focus on that. Otherwise there would have been no movement. There would have been no movement.
Right. That emergency, what did we talk about? That emergency activity. A lot of it was emergency, getting things sort of in order so that the next wave of devotional service and devotees could take us to another level.
Yes, exactly. Everybody should, And I think it will go down in history. ISKCON is going to go down in history as having, in such a short period, established such a major religious faith, a religion, in such a strong way that nothing can now break it. It's like it's now unbreakable. It's like it's set. The course is set now. It's just a question of who wants to hop on and who doesn't want to hop on.
Exactly, because this is Lord Chaitanya's desire, and who can nullify the desire of the Lord. And also, Nityananda, because Krishna consciousness is such a science that it cleanses the heart
Yes.
so that, you know, other religions are, people become pious and they become moral.
Right.
And in some instances, lovers of God, but because this is so directly aimed at purifying the heart,
Right.
and when the heart becomes transformed, then the potency of love of God, or the potency of Krishna consciousness, the contagiousness, you know, becomes multiplied.
Yes.
And so that's why we share with devotees, work on yourself, you know, make sure that you dealing with your heart and your own surrender and your own process. So we can be an adequate instrument,
Yes.
a pure instrument for the Lord.
Right.
And that is going to be fantastic. And it is fantastic.
Yes. More and more we're seeing how people are honoring authenticity, you know?
Yes.
We have to be authentic, you know?
Yes.
We've got such an authentic program in Krishna consciousness that if we as the messengers also become authentic,
Yes.
then the authenticity of Krishna consciousness will be easy for people to accept, because they see that even the messenger is affected. I mean,
Yes.
the postman is never affected by the mail that he's carrying, right?
Yes.
But in this case, the postman is affected.
Yes.
The postman is singing and dancing while he's delivering the mail. So there must be something that's giving ecstasy to him in the mail, right?
Right.
Even though he's not opened it, he's just delivering the mail and he's feeling so much ecstasy.
And he seems to be at peace, and he seems to have a kindness toward all, you know, so all these things that people see as a direct result of engagement in bhakti yoga,
Right.
that is what attracts. People are looking for that authenticity, like you said, because Kali Yuga, it's so rare that when people see it, it's like a very refreshing, delightful thing to know.
Yeah, and just like in your case, we see that with Srila Prabhupada, even while he was leaving his body, he was in such a difficult situation. But it was obvious that he was very clear, he was very lucid, he was continuing to do whatever he did even while his body was working well. And, you know, we can see in examples like yourself, you're going through all these difficulties of severe pain in you know, the situation with cancer and everything. But yet you appear to us like everything's normal, you're happy, everything is fine, you know. I mean, this tells us that, you know, how a person has become so affected by Krishna consciousness that it's a little like you're becoming oblivious to your own situation, you know, the difficulties around you.
And taking that real shelter.
Yeah.
And so then we have to again thank the Lord for his ultimate mercy of giving us each other and giving us Prabhupada. And now I think we have our Giriraj Swami.
Yeah, we have Giriraj Maharaj with us. Welcome, Maharaj. It's so nice to have you with us, as always.
Maharaj.
Please accept all obeisances.
Hi.
Nice to you and Prabhupada. And thank you, Krsna Nandini Maharaj. It was so nice of you to come and join us like this. You made our day. This has been recorded, and we will actually be able to play this over and over again to many people who may not have been able to be here because it's a working day. And also other services are going on. Some have to do with other things. But they really wanted to hear you. And so we thought we'd record it. And for posterity, this will be available for people to hear about you.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to see you. And please give my loving respects to Manjwali.
I will do that.
And of course, I'm going to hang in here for my dear godbrother, Giriraj Swami.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome, Maharaj.
Thank you. So I'll begin by singing the Mangalacharna prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then I will speak about